Shrink the Nation is a podcast for thoughtful, informed adults, preferably with a pour in hand. The views and opinions expressed on the show are those of the hosts and guests only, and do not reflect the views of any employers, institutions, licensing boards, government agencies, bourbon distilleries, or family members, especially our family members. They've asked us to be very clear about that. This show is for informational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing said here should be taken as medical, psychiatric, legal, or professional advice. If you're in crisis, call a professional. If you're mad at something we said, we suggest journaling or emailing us with civility. We're here to challenge ideas, not diagnose strangers. We're clinicians, not your clinicians, and we have the bourbon to prove it. Let's go. And we are on. We are in. This is it. Episode 1 officially starting. Shrink the Nation on the couch with America. Welcome, beloved guests, beloved co-hosts, 3 psychiatrists, 3 bourbons, I think. I have bourbon. Rob's got bourbon. Keith, maybe. He's got bourbon, or he's got something brown in his something. Yeah. He's got something. One nation in desperate need of therapy, and we are here to provide that. That is the goal. I'm excited. This is going to be fun. And there you go. So welcome to everybody. I'm David. Just to give you a little rundown of who I am, 20 plus years in the military, 10 plus years as a physician. I am the in-house tech junkie. I am the converter to Apple fandom. You're welcome, Rob. Mm-hmm. Sorry about that. Apologies. And today I am drinking Jefferson's Reserve, the very old Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey, a very small batch, which apparently means 8 to 12 barrels, and which is pretty cool. It tastes a lot like the other bourbons that I've had. We'll see if it tastes a lot more like them the more that I've had, but I like it so far. I'm going to throw this one over to Rob.
All right. I'm Rob, 25 years as a psychiatrist, 30 years in the military. I am drinking Snake Eater bourbon, which is a small batch bourbon made in Kentucky.
What is it? Very small batch?
Sure. Made by the company started in 2018 by an ex-Green Beret and named after the Snake Eater moniker that the Green Berets have. It is a wheated bourbon, which I tend to avoid, but the history of the bourbon drew me in.
There you go. So after complaining about the wheated bourbons, loving the rise. No, wait, what was the percentage of corn? You didn't talk about the corn percentage.
No, yeah, this one is like 62% corn.
Wow, that's a lot of corn.
Yeah, well, most of the ryes are in the 70s, and then you have your 10% rye and 10% barley or whatever.
What percentage sweat? Because what I did notice is that there's no corn sweat, and I don't have a poster behind me. You jackass! I was waiting all week for my corn sweat poster that I did not get. I'm very disappointed.
Yeah, I did some Amazon looking for a appropriate corn sweat. What's his first name? Is it David?
It is David.
David Corn Sweat poster for your wall. I thought it might be best suited for Keith's wall, right behind his head.
For us to, again, project all of our hopes and dreams onto.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, I'll jump into it. I'm Keith, otherwise known as the Duke of Burgundy. 24 years, physician, psychiatrist, and happy to be here with my 2 good friends and see what trouble we can't get into.
Or out of.
Or out of. Well, we will do our best.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. Stay out of trouble. Welcome to everybody who is listening to us for the first time. If you have not had the misfortune of listening to our first couple of mistrials, go to our website. Maybe they'll be there. Maybe they won't. Maybe a professional organization or employer will have asked us to take them down by now, but who knows? We'll try to leave them up as long as we can. ShrinkTheNation.com. So just because we are on episode 1, let's run it down. Why are we here? What are we doing? What's this all about? Why listen to us when you could listen to anybody else talk about whatever the hell we're going to talk about? Thoughts,
I think opinions? There's a difference. There's a difference between what we're talking about and what a majority of. And I think that's our goal here, is not to be polarized, not to be on a side, but to talk about the dynamics that are driving each side. I know I'm here largely, one, to spend some time with my 2 dear friends who I do not get to spend enough time with. But beyond that, because that wouldn't drive me too far. But beyond that, is I wouldn't.
Well, fuck you.
This
It's
Fuck
not.
turns
you.
to
It's not like I'm going to go
turns
get
to
on an
that real
airplane
quick.
or anything.
Yeah, fair.
No, I'm a member of the exhausted middle. I don't understand fully what's going on around the nation, what drives us. I'm anxious about it. I'm anxious for my future, my kids' future, and anytime I'm sitting in a psychotherapy environment with other patients where I'm feeling anxious, there's usually questions to be answered and asked, and there's a story, there's a narrative to be defined, and I think there is a narrative here, and there is a story that we can add to.
And
Yeah, I
to
think
clarify, you mean as the psychiatrist, not as
Ew.
another patient. Yeah. So, okay. And maybe having maybe another unique perspective, not just a psychiatrist, but one who has spent, as you already said, a significant amount of time in the military in some way, shape, or form, as we all have, Keith included, who maybe didn't mention it, but has, in spite of that fantastic, just glorious beard that he's stroking, that we all want to right now, has also served our country. We all have. So, but I'll kick to Keith. Keith.
Yeah. No, what
does it mean to you?
I think Rob says it well. Like, there is a pathology for the nation. This is an important time. I think when we do look back, we will look back on this as a historic time, a defining time for our nation. And my hope, in addition to spending time with two people I think a whole lot of, partners in crime and all things strategery, is to try to give a different perspective and sense of what's going on. And yeah, we're not here to repeat talking points or politic that's done by others and done well and often of limited value, but to try to give, regular people like us a sense of how to think about this, make sense through it, and how to see it through the lens of, three folks with a lot of experience in mental health and psychiatry and psychotherapy, and how does this apply to a larger group like our nation?
Right. Well, I will give you my take, if I may. I do agree. I like chatting with both of you, not enough to actually take the time to get on a plane and visit either one of you yahoos, but certainly am willing to turn on a computer and do this way. But no, in all seriousness, we're all psychiatrists. We all have a unique perspective. We are not politicians. I'm not here, I guess I should say. I'm not here to tell anybody how to think. I'm not here to tell anybody how to vote. I'm not here to tell anybody how to believe or even how to run their lives. That's not really what I want to do. But what I do want to hopefully impart upon other people is just some level of hope, some understanding of what's going on, a little bit of perspective, and maybe do it in a way that's kind of fun and kind of brings us all to, to feel a little bit more grounded, a little bit more centered, and have a better understanding of what the hell is happening in America, the world, as it's going on. So maybe we'll have a good time doing that, and hopefully people at home will appreciate it.
There's a couple of points there that I think deserve highlighting. One is fun. Hopefully we can have some fun with this. I mean, I enjoy you guys. I usually do have fun when we're engaged. Serious stuff. We are dealing with serious stuff, and the anxiety it creates colors our perception of it. So if we can mitigate some of that anxiety, I think we're able to understand it better.
You just said collars. What? You said colors. Yeah. All right. Just making sure that other people knew that that's what you meant.
Yeah. Okay. My Appalachian accent.
The host is coming out of me. I just want to make sure people knew that colors means colors in your Appalachian.
Colors. Yeah. So yes, it will color or perspective the anxiety, and then the other part of what you're saying, you've completely made me forget.
You're welcome.
Because you're a jackass. And,
I am. That should be part of my intro next time. I am a jackass.
No objections.
No objections.
But we are all here to have fun. But we are all here to impart knowledge, have a good time doing it, and help people get along. And honestly, we have means to reach out to us. We have socials. We've got them on, I think, the gamut. You got X, you got Facebook, Insta, Blue Sky, TikTok. That one was tough.
I think my new mission here is to bring understanding to the Appalachian accent and
do it.
Acceptance to all things Appalachia.
I wouldn't have guessed it from the outset when we started talking about doing this podcast, Rob, that you would be the comedic relief. It's a great surprise.
Bourbon is
I thought maybe David would be that foil, but it's good to see you step out.
Yeah.
no. I'm the tech support. I'm at best. I'm here to make this all work. You guys, that's all. You guys get a really good trained chimp. You could probably replace me.
We could.
So yeah, you could.
We'll work on that.
I know. I'm gonna set some really difficult passwords though.
Okay.
That's
password 123. I get it. I understand.
Hey, damn it! Now I got to change it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, we've introduced ourselves. We've introduced what we're doing. Let's kick it over. So the topic this week, we're going to talk about grandiosity and the complex that is prevalent in America. So I know you have a ton of notes. I know you've been just dying for weeks to talk about it. You're just shaking. Well,
I have been.
Hit us with it while I get a refill.
My question, actually, before I even dive into this topic, I am biting at the bit. My question to you guys is it a glitch or is it a feature? Is this part of our nation from the jump? Is this part of our success, or is it a function of now?
It's a great question. I think we're split just as a character of the nation.
So define split for us, for those of us who aren't psychologists.
Not split in that way that you're probably thinking, David, in terms of a primitive character. I think just split in sort of a two-mindedness of, hey, you can see it in our movies too, not just in what we learn in our social studies or what have. But we love to idealize an idealized figure, right? We love to have somebody, some person that we feel is grandiose and perfect to, be the object of what we put on them. But I think there's a split in times it works well and times it does not work well. We can go back to the founding, right? George Washington was a grandiose figure, still is, right? Never told a lie. And as far as we understand, that worked well for the time that we needed it. But then there's other times where there's grandiosity, where somebody has this exaggerated sense of self-importance, achievements, being capable of things others aren't, where it works well for them, perhaps, but nobody else. I think, those are the two, maybe split's not the right word, right? But those are the two flavors that we have. I think sometimes there's a happy accident of history where someone idealized with a grandiose sense of self works well for the nation, and other times where it really doesn't work well for anyone, but who's on the receiving end of that grandiosity and sometimes sociopathy, which, we can talk about later.
Well, so
yeah, you can
go back sociopathy then. So for those of us, what do you mean?
Well,
how do you just
a
little definition? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So someone who takes pleasure in using their full sense of self, their fuller sense of self, their grandiose sense of self, and their sense of self-importance and their preoccupation with unlimited power or success, where they use those abilities. Often they're quite enjoyable to be around, quick talker, but they use those abilities to take pleasure in harming others in small ways, in large ways, in administrative ways. Unfortunately, most of the data comes out of prisons where folks that are found to be this way did crimes that maybe were easy to catch or easy to describe, like beating someone up or assaulting someone. But you also see them in the top tiers of our society where they may run companies or have leadership positions in companies, and they may get a lot of pleasure out of using their power and their sense of inflated self to, they say, fire 1,000 people or change a policy within a company or a government structure that hurts a lot of people, and they really kind of get off, on that sense. So at the core of it all, right, we could, if we wanted to, right, we could go through all the criteria that three of us know, but at the core of it, there's this need to feel pleasure at causing other people's pain through your ability, through your power, through your grandiosity, through your inflated sense of self that nobody in this moment has. And that's what I was referring to.
Okay.
And there's sociopathy, there's a book, surprise, The Mask. Yeah.
You need a book. The Mask. Book alert.
It's a good book, though.
Mask of Sanity. That is kind of the earliest work of highlighted, and it was really just case reports of sociopaths. In modern parlance, antisocial personality has taken over the use of that terminology. So sociopathy, antisocial. I think there's a fine point between the two. But The easiest way I can sum it up is I'll hurt you before you hurt me. An individual that's their guiding principle.
So
Go
you're
ahead.
talking about Harvey Cleckley, early book, Mask of Sanity, and then that ultimately comes, you get then Robert Hare's kind of further studies into psychopathy, which we're not really going to get into, but the delineation between antisocial personality disorder, which is what the DSM speaks to, which is our psychiatry Bible of disorders, right? And then you have antisocial personality disorder, but then you have more of the colloquial sociopathy, which defines this kind of more broader sense, and then psychopathy, which is this more smaller subset, but much more dangerous. Interesting. I love that topic, but we'll have to discuss it later. But,
and I want to be cautious. I'm not saying the United States, if I was to put a personality structure on the United States, sociopathy would not be it. I think grandiosity, which plays into other types of personality, fit. And, I started off by asking the question, but so I'm working on something, and you guys are going to call me to task on this, but I'm working on the concept of nations having a personality. And if they have a personality, that personality was developed from a formative environment. And if for the United States, what is that formative environment that led us down a road to result in a certain grandiosity? And what I'm thinking right now, as we're talking about grandiosity, I'm thinking about a WWII or WWF, whatever it is now, wrestling, professional wrestling. And I'm thinking about...
Your age is showing.
Okay, which is fine. My age shows ridiculously on this face. So in my thought process, it should show as well. But I'm thinking about those incredible displays of ostensibly national pride in which there is a chant that just erupts in a stadium filled with thousands and thousands of people. And it's USA, USA, USA. There's a grandiosity to that, and it serves a purpose. And my question to you, brilliant gentlemen, or not so gentlemen, is where's that come from? What started that? Why do we hold on to that so dearly?
I don't think we had it for the whole of our nation. I don't know what you all think. I think there was a switch in your comments around personality of a nation, Rob. I think there was a switch around World War II when we did seem to get some, I don't know if reason's the right word, but some reason to feel grandiose about who we were as a nation. I don't think before that we felt that way. I mean, more learned folks may know more about this than me.
Let me throw in a topic just to add to what you're saying. So American exceptionalism. I know both of you have heard the terminology. American exceptionalism has been a concept since 1836. And in 1836, a French guy, a political scientist, made reference to the exceptionalism of the United States. And it sort of took on its own life. And that exceptionalism was based in the fact that we were built on a revolution, that we were the first democracy, that we were built on a set of principles. And those principles were exceptional. And I'm going to agree with that. Our principles, we hold these truths to be self-evident, were exceptional. My sense is that grandiosity has been part of us since the beginning. Now, I hear what Keith's saying, absolutely. World War II was a deciding factor. And I'm old enough that World War II still resonates with me because the people I grew up with, that was their formative experience. Probably no doubt that, the fact that we came into World War II and we made the difference and we ended the war and we were the arsenal of democracy. But I think it goes back farther than that. I think grandiosity is baked into the cake.
I mean, maybe it's pent up demand for the grandiosity. After World War II, we had a ton of loan securities that we were able to acquire, and we became the natural resource supplier to the rest of the world across the Atlantic. I almost felt like we were sort of just waiting for the reason to, flex our grandiose muscles. I agree. We were we were born under extraordinary ideals. I'm not sure we ever thought they would really work or come to any strong fruition, but when the happenings of World War II came together, we were in quite a position to leverage whatever it was that we had, and we sure did. We've become a very wealthy, very powerful nation because of it. It feels like we were teetering. We got out of the Great Depression and then had the boom of the 1940s and 50s, and now we are who we are today. And it feels a little bit like a bit of a hangover in the 2020s
80
of that binge.
So you're
David,
referencing the book that you brought up last time, The Storm Before the Calm and the cycles of 80 years. Is that what you were referencing?
well, yes, hangover, absolutely. I'm going to circle back and so current research on narcissism, which grandiosity plays significantly into that. About 30% is genetic, 35% is genetic. So we can't account for that. Our heritage does not involve sexual intercourse, as it turns out. But what we did have is a parent, and that parent was Great Britain, and we broke away from that parent. When you think about narcissism, you go backwards, and you go backwards to the point of infancy. And what? Go ahead.
Define. So narcissism, I think, is one of those terms that gets thrown around,
overused.
Well, not necessarily overused. I mean, I think
I don't know, man. It's all over TikTok. Are you dating a narcissist?
Well,
my answer is probably.
Are you on TikTok? That's a big. I don't believe you are. I doubt very seriously you are.
My kids bring these to me.
Yeah. So no, you're not.
Like, yeah.
But no, I think narcissism is one of those terms where it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. What do you mean?
Yeah. So
when you're talking about it.
When I'm talking of narcissism, I'm talking about a personality structure, and all of this.
You got to layman's terms this for me like I'm 5. You gotta. Yeah. And I've been drinking bourbon.
Right. So all of us psychiatrists have our own favorite psychodynamic theory that makes the most sense to us, and largely because it resonates with us because it fits our own psychopathology. However, for me, the theory that has always resonated the best with me is the Jungian theory for personality structure. And Jung said that there are 2 great things that we have to struggle with when we're small. The first thing is fear of abandonment, and the second is fear of engulfment. So when you're tiny, you don't have to be a genius to realize the people around you can walk away from you and you will die. The people around you could beat you to death. You have no ability to protect yourself. You don't have to be a genius to catch that. And what ends up developing a personality is our ability to navigate those 2 fears, find a place in the between in which we can be comfortable. And for narcissism, what tends to happen is that their sense of protection between those things can take on multiple forms, but for narcissism particularly, it's a power complex that they become more powerful than the other. The other being the parent, the person that's out there acting upon them. So they can do that to protect themselves from abandonment, and they can also do that to protect themselves from engulfment. I am more powerful than you. That resonates with me from a national character standpoint. Britain should have beat us in the Revolutionary War. They didn't, because they had other things that they were investing in, and they didn't have the resources. I'm not a historian, but to my memory, we won like 2 battles. The final battle and the Battle of Trenton, the Christmas across the river against the Haitians.
Rob. Was it the Rio Grande?
Across the
yeah. During the Rio Grande.
But
you were not a historian.
I'm not. It was totally,
down in Granada.
Yeah. Edit that out. We're fine.
I'm not going to edit that out. Are you kidding me?
Right.
For God's sakes, please edit that out.
But
the Haitians.
We won 2 battles, and there may have been more. And again, I'm not a historian. I don't pretend to be. But what I can say is we certainly weren't kicking the British kicking their ass up and down the seaboard. They were winning most of the battles. And then in 1812, they came and thoroughly kicked our asses, to include burning down Washington, D.C. So our defense against that, in my mind, has been this power complex that we became more powerful mentally in our thoughts than those around us. And I think that's existed forever. Well, for 250 years.
Yeah, I think the success of the nation has kind of gone backwards to say like the way we think is better or valuable. And it's kind of a Calvinistic approach, right? To say, well, you're successful, so the thoughts that you must have had were right, or the beliefs or the behaviors you must have had were right. And in a lot of ways, our success is a lot of happy accidents. No, I think you're right, Rob. We didn't fight the Haitians in the Revolutionary War, but yeah, there were some.
Was it Hessians?
Some wins.
What was it? Someone help me here.
It was the Haitians, yeah.
Hessians? No, yeah, Hessians.
The Haitians,
yes.
yeah.
There was some good luck in Fort Ticonderoga, and
that's why we won.
There was some just a accumulation of happy accidents, and I think British malaise and grandiosity, right? Excessively grandiose in their confidence.
Hessians. It's Hessians.
It was Hessians.
Well, you also think it's collar, so
yeah. But not the Rio Grande.
Why don't you get your collaring book out right now? And
I'm blaming it on Appalachia.
Bourbon. I'm going to blame it on your whiteness. It's okay. We all have it. Or, some
more so than others.
Yeah.
I think we've lost all of our Revolutionary War survivors. They're not going to listen to us now.
Which is luckily a small percentage of the audience. We're fine.
We're fine. So America has had grandiosity built into its fibers for a long time. Clearly, that's been American exceptionalism has been there. We've had our ups, we've had our downs. We've had a lot of successes, particularly since World War II. We've been remarkably successful. We have, even the last 30 years, economically, we have had amazing success. I think Europe would be quite enviable with how successful we've been. But there is a disproportionate level of grandiosity that we are seeing now. There has been an absolute explosion in grandiosity on an individualistic level, not just America, but people. And that's been something that has been pretty well documented for a while. It's a book that goes back to 2007, The Narcissism Epidemic by, I think it's Twenge and Campbell, that speaks about, I think they call out Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan quite a bit in this book, but they talk about, and this was when social media was really starting to ramp up. It hadn't quite yet, but really was. But it was this escalation of individualistic narcissism. Now, not the narcissistic personality disorder that we all think about as psychiatrists, where it's causing a lot of interpersonal conflict or causing a lot of depression, anxiety, things like that. But this self-centeredness and this hyper-focus on thyself that didn't seem to be rooted, it doesn't seem to be rooted in this overarching sense of fear that somebody's going to figure out that I'm lonely or this. It's people who actually run around feeling like they are that much more awesome than everybody else. And now in this book, they postulate that it has to do with the fact that has to do with the development of parents. Children, parents saying, "Hey, you are super special. Look, you failed. Great job, champ. You tried really hard, and even though you didn't succeed, you're still a winner in my book. And no matter what,
did you do your best? Did you do your best?
Not even. No, you didn't even do your best. But you know what? I dragged you out, and you sat on the sideline, and you maybe pitched a fit, and you didn't get in the game. But you know whose fault that is? Not yours, buddy. That's the coach's fault because he's a jerk, and you deserve this huge trophy, even though you guys all lost." And I hate to call it social media, hit that subscribe button, but this ability for people this ability for people to just have that constant focus on themselves. Always just me, me, me. And it has, even they bring up at that time, especially now, you have reality television that is completely full of people that score very high on the narcissism personality index, the NPI, where they're just more likely to be on TV. And so not only are you going to see these really narcissistic people, but you're going to see them more often. You're going to more than likely idolize them. And now what do we have? And this was 2007, so almost 20 years ago. Now you have this whole group of adults who grew up in this culture where that was not just, it was normalized. It was completely normal. It was expected. And so are we surprised?
No.
All right.
Now,
next topic.
Right.
Solved.
Moving on.
No.
Getting back to the Haitians, I think we need to solve that.
The Annans? Are you talking about?
No.
Like Ellen's.
I was clearly referencing the Hessians. My fault. Anyway, here's
it's the moops. Here's the moops.
Here's a fascinating little thing that I do keep finding myself coming back to, which is there is a national character, and it probably does stem from a formative experience nationally. Then there is the personalities of our leaders, which define the personality of the nation at any given time. And then there is also precedents that decisions that were made in the past end up carrying forward because this is the American way. And what you're talking about at this moment is accurate. That as a child of the 80s, I can recall a time when we had field days, and if you won, you got a blue ribbon, and if you didn't, you got, I don't know, red. Second place was red, and third place was white or something. I can't recall.
He doesn't remember.
I did get a green one for participation once at Glenwood Elementary School. I was very disappointed to get the green participation ribbon.
I don't even recall having participation ribbons when I was a kid, but that is the
honorable mention. Yeah. Didn't call it participation.
I do recall, though, that is the genesis of the self-esteem movement. And that self-esteem movement was all of you are valuable. And there's some reality to that. We want children to feel valuable. The problem is, and this is the problem with narcissism actually links back in, is that if it's not tied to legitimate success, it plays into the psychodynamics of narcissism. I am great. I am fantastic. But underneath it is a house of cards that has no substance. And they are at least marginally aware of that. And where we sit is that we have maybe a generation of narcissists. We certainly have a generation of narcissistic politicians who are interested in hits or clicks or whatever on social media. And their actions are performative to get those hits and clicks, that attention. It's not tied to a bigger picture. It's not tied to what's the right thing for the nation for the future.
I think you bring up a good point. I disagree a little bit.
Thank you.
I disagree a little. I do.
I hear what you're saying. I think you're full of shit.
I agree. I don't think you're full of shit. I think part of what you're saying is correct, because there is definitely a subset of narcissists who have that house of cards built up. And then there's a subset who honestly just think they're amazing, and that's it. They really think they are wonderful and can't be told otherwise because they have nobody to tell them otherwise. And when you grow up and at 4 years old, your parents say, "Hey, champ, which car should I buy?" And the kid says, I want that one. And you go, "Okay, let's get that car." That kid thinks that they had a say in buying that car. And that kid shouldn't have a say in the buying of the car. But when that pattern plays out, that kid will grow up thinking that they are something quite special. And it's not a house of cards. They feel that way. But that wasn't really the point that I wanted to make. what I wanted to get at was, I mean, that's part of why I think
I think this to say
well, I
that.
think you're partially no.
Go
I think you're part. I think you make a good point on it's yes, there are people who fall into that category, but there are definitely people who don't. Now, from the political perspective, I think the grandiosity, or at least what it seems like, plays a lot more off of the short attention span that the way that we consume media allows there to be, because it allows us to, you can kind of say whatever, and then it just goes out in the void. It's like, well, I didn't really say that, or who cares that I said that? And there's this sort of brazen ability to deny it, and or at the very least just try things that in the past you never would have, where you'll see, for instance, you'll see where somebody will go through a trial and be found guilty, and then the defense will stand up and say, yeah, yep, okay, can you let them go though? And that's like, that would never have happened 20 years ago, because you just wouldn't ask such a brazenly stupid, ballsy question in the court. Yet now, why not? I mean, why the hell not? You might as well. And that's amazing to me, but that seems to be the thing that keeps happening. And it's this, is it grandiosity? Is it just taking advantage of the fact that it seems like, well, okay, yeah, I'll just ask you something nobody else has asked. Yeah, they're guilty, but can you let them go? I mean, the worst you could do is say no. I mean, it's worked before. Like, I'll just keep.
So how's that tie into everything you're saying resonates with me as real? And the thing that that is challenging is that we are a nation of people, and we are people, maybe specifically our leaders, and they are compelled by the same psychodynamic forces as all of us. The forces acting on the country trigger a response guided by the leaders' psychodynamics. Then those adaptations that are part of that leader become our national character. So pull this out. Let's take the microscope, spin it back to binoculars. Why are we so fucked up? Keith.
Well, yeah. Well, I have the answer, Rob. I mean, I love your comment around, well, it made me think of, if there are accomplished, let's say in this argument, politicians, if there are really accomplished, really successful politicians, I don't mind loving them as narcissists. That's fine with me, right? But to your point too, I think, David, if they're not accomplished, they haven't done anything that is grandiose, that is extraordinary, that is inflated. That is the one thing politicians can do. They can do narcissistic things. I mean, not in a pathologic way, but in a descriptive way. I don't mind exalting them for the sake of social group interest. But when someone's done nothing, but they exalt themselves like they have, that's just pathology, and it goes on to a national level. Why are we so fucked up, Rob? I don't know.
Hey, thanks for your insight.
Yeah, that was really helpful.
I don't know.
We're good. Well,
that's what we're here for.
But I think that's just it, is that the attention span is so short that you play the damn odds. You say the big thing because if you can get the attention, it doesn't matter. Any publicity is good publicity in this environment. If you get the clicks, you got the clicks. It doesn't matter why somebody's looking at you. It's that they're looking at you. And that is what feeds the grandiosity. And what we have right now is a way to get the most eyes on you as quickly as possible. And you have a finite amount of time to do that. But everybody is walking around with a way to get eyes on you, a way to register that the eyes are on you. We can track that immediately when you click it. You can also, you can track where on the button they clicked. And so that's all you're looking for. It doesn't, you can see exactly where the X and the Y was, where on the
Middle,
button you clicked. Exactly.
left,
You can see exactly.
right.
And so that's all that matters, is not that you're doing good, that you're doing bad. It's that you're doing something, and that people saw it, and that as long as you are on the right team and that your team is winning, you're good.
I don't mind working hard, doing amazing things that add value, and then feeling grandiose for that.
Yes.
I mean, there's some downsides to it, right? But I can permit that.
Yes.
But when there's grandiosity without good practical works of action, And I think that's in a lot of ways what we're dealing with. I think also, I know we're trying to be apolitical, but when we look at our bicameral Congress, I think there's a huge focus on this concept of grandiosity and grandstanding. But where's for God's sakes, we pay their salaries. Where's the results? Where's the results? And
I guess that's it. It doesn't
we may
matter.
disagree with the results. We may not like the results, but even if I don't agree with you, if you grinded hard and worked on it, did your homework, and you got some good results, bad results, but you got results, okay, right? But it seems like now it's much more of kind of what you were talking about, David, of like low effort, shallow, hollow output, and to say, hey, look what I did. Well, you didn't do anything. Where's the pushing your agenda? Where's the benefit of the people, whoever it is that you represent? That's a branching off point.
No, but I think you're 100% right though, because what you
100% is probably strong.
No, okay. Well,
You're
73% right here, because what you're saying is exactly where I am with being in the exhausted middle, which is that fine.
He's drinking out of mojito glass.
Is it?
It's like a mojito glass.
Is it a pre-mixed mojito too? It's a Topo Chico. Is that even real alcohol? So
the gods of bourbon are going to strike us down.
No, I think you mean the Haitians. They're going to
strike Haitians. The gods of bourbon are sending the Haitians.
We're gonna anyway. So no, but that's just it. Whether you are on the right or the left, the problem here is that they figured out a way. Both sides have figured out a way to shoot fish in a barrel without doing anything. It's just get some damn clicks by saying something and produce nothing and do nothing for the rest. And I think that's where understanding why grandiosity in this environment that we're in is so important, because what it ultimately comes down to is that what we say, what is to demand something. Give me something to say, okay, look, you did something. You did X, Y, or Z.
That circles back to, I think, a theme that's going to become ours, which is this moment.
Are we getting a theme song?
Well, maybe. Well, I can't think of it. I think there is a song called This Moment, maybe. No.
I was thinking Three's Company, but
so
that's already taken.
When we are engaged in psychotherapy, one of the critical questions is why now? Why right now? Why didn't you come in 3 weeks ago? Why didn't you come in 2 weeks from now? Why now? What was it that at this moment you said, I really have to go? And I think part of this moment is social media. And social media does reward narcissism and grandiosity. It rewards a meaningless action that drives clicks. And David says they can even tell you where they're clicking on the button. And I don't know what they're driving from that click. I tend to click on the right of the button. Maybe that means something. I don't know. But right now, at this moment, there are certain politicians who I will not bring up, but whose entire politics are driven by social media. It's not that they've accomplished anything. It's not that they have a thoughtful perspective. It's not that they are protecting the nation. It's nothing other than they crack the code on what drives the audience that elects them.
Alexander Hamilton. I mean, we've all seen it, right?
I've not.
What?
I've not. I'm sitting here in Appalachia. The Hamilton's not come to my region, but
soon the Haitians will.
The Haitians.
Katie barred the door.
I
think it made me think of something like, at the end of the day, this hasn't ever changed. At the end of the day, politics is a popularity contest.
It is.
And that, it is what it is. Right? It is what it is. But those that win the popularity contest, who do something, even if one doesn't agree with what they did, those who do something versus just saying, I won the popularity contest, I have the clicks, I have the likes, therefore I am something and I'm powerful. That's much more of a pathologic expression of grandiosity, in our field than, yes, as let's say I won the popularity contest and then I went to work and I did these things and then I can brag about them, whether you agree with them or not. But I'm not seeing anything from anyone out of any office that I can say, oh, look what this person did. I'm just not seeing any effort. I don't know, David, what do you think?
No, I think that's been the status quo for a long time. I think that is sort of the complaint.
Pre-social media?
Oh, pre-social media? Oh, and I think that's the issue is that what we're seeing is the challenge right now is get elected, stay elected, and then don't do anything to get unelected.
So there's the potential plus the means. And an argument can be made that politicians, by virtue of the path they take, there's a certain amount of grandiosity that's required. And I even think, David, you may have said this several episodes backwards when we were trying to get our feet under us, that I am not a politician because I don't know that I can win. And you got to know at your core, be willing to say, I can win. So they all have the potential. It's baked in the cake. It's part of it. It's who they are.
Well, give an example. I mean, here's a good example. I mean, look at the New York mayoral race.
I don't wanna. It's it's a shit
look
show.
At it exactly. But look at that race. Feel how you do about that the Democratic primary in the New York mayoral race. What was going on there? You had two people who had major scandals who were running and convinced they were going to win. And that is the grandiosity that has to be as a politician to say, hey, I have had all sorts of legal concerns, and that is I'm still going to run because I can win. People are going to ignore that.
So there's the potential, and what's unique about this moment is they also have the means. Social media provides the means to be low in terms of content, high in terms of clicks.
But I think, David, your comments get away from, we're talking about narcissism as a character trait. You're talking more about sociopathy. Like, a person can be grandiose and have a grand self-importance. They can be preoccupied with power and beauty and love, and they can think they're special and require excessive admiration and entitlement, and they can exploit. Well, exploit gets a little bit into sociopathy, but
it does.
We all can have those character traits, but what we do with them then does translate into sociopathy, which I think is more what we're dealing with, especially with some of our more famous elected politicians in the state and federal space. You can have a grand sense of yourself. That's fine. It can be charming. It can be annoying. It can be anything in between. But when you do something harmful with it, that gets into the more primitive space of sociopathy, which I think this country is dealing with at a national and political, let's say, Secretary of State level. Just whatever's going on in our state politics between nations, I think that's happening. And it's impactful and something I think a lot of people are thinking about and we all should think about. But at the end of the day, right, we care more about what am I going to do for dinner? Am I going to be able to pay my bills? What's the cost of gas? Is it going to be a good date night? And I think that offers a space for those that just say, well, nobody else wants to do this job. I can be grandiose and make my 200 and X number of $1,000 a year being in an elected position. But I really get a whole lot more money doing other things. It makes me want to tell my kids, like, hey, the best job you should run for is Senate or representative of the United States. You don't have to do anything. You just have to be grandiose and narcissistic and collect the clicks, which is a concern. That's not what I want to see for what I think is a great nation.
Currently, they're not making decisions. They're mitigating public opinion to get to a point that is established, which probably brings me to our prescriptions.
You want to get to the prescriptions?
I think so.
We We can. Let's do it. You got to start it off. You.
I got to start.
Yeah. You brought it up. You got to start it off.
Hell. All right. So Carl Rogers, psychotherapist, he had a perspective that's often referenced as Rogerian now. But he said there are 3 essential characteristics to an effective therapist. There's accurate empathy, there's unconditional positive regard, and then there's genuineness. What I think is a prescription for us as a nation is unfortunately something there's not a lot of appetite for, which is revealing our inadequacies. And this is obviously a serious one, not a silly one. But when I was a kid, my history class included our inadequacies, our failures. We are a nation built on all men are created equal with slavery. That's an inadequacy that we really do have to sit with and have to be able to say out loud and have to be able to say, it's okay that we were imperfect, and that imperfection does not have to resound through history. And until we can sit with our imperfections, of which there are many, then we're stuck in a narcissistic stance. How we get to that, other than through the educational system, I don't know. But from a conversational standpoint, recognizing that we're not quite as perfect as we might want to be.
Yeah. I think that's on target. At the end of the day, narcissism comes from deep self-deficits, whether they're quite primitive or more neurotic. But if you want anyone in a position of power to look at their narcissism, you have to ask them to go back to their own hurt. It's a tall order, right? It's a strong tonic. But if that person will go do that, then often the foundation that supports the shakiness of their narcissistic structure will crumble a bit, and they will become more empathic, less grandiose, less needing to project power on others for their own self-needs. So it's not a complicated prescription, but one to look at your own hurt. Where were you hurt? Where were you inadequate? How are you living your inadequacy day to day? How do you cope with that? How do you make up for that? Do you still have to do it? Look at your own hurt. If a person can do that, it's not easy. If a person can do that, that's good for humanity, no matter what social system, local, large government system, family that they live in. So that would be my prescription, David.
But I guess I get to do an absurd one.
It's on point.
Okay. On point. All right. So today's absurd prescription is that you and everyone gets to replace, my prescription is to have you replace all of your mirrors with a handwritten note that says, you are not the main character, to combat your narcissism. That is the plan. So replace all your mirrors.
You are not the hero.
You are not the main character.
I love that. And I guess I'll tell you why. I think there's a Stoic philosophy driven perspective that says every day you should start the day by looking yourself in the mirror and saying you will die. And it's not designed necessarily to, like, I don't know, to pull you down or to make you like, oh gosh, nothing's important. It's just that your existence is finite and you're going to end. And when you end, there will be a whole history that comes behind you. One of the things that scares me in our politicians are the ones that don't seem to recognize that there's a history to come. There's a future, and that future has nothing to do with them. It has, or at least only has to do with them, with the things that they did that didn't assist.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's do that. Let's make all mirrors say that.
As a psychiatrist, I tend to steer clear of having my patients, tell themselves that they're going to die. But I get where you're going with that, and I like it.
You should
so
do that.
I appreciate that advice.
You should tell all of them,
the
hey,
death impulse is real.
Have you thought about the fact that you're dying right now?
Not with this fantastic elixir, Jefferson's Reserve.
This harkens back to an earlier episode, but whole Freudian death impulses drive to much of our neuroticism.
That's a future episode, absolutely.
All right. So, well, for those of you who managed to stick around, thank you for doing so. We will have lots of, I think, fun tidbits. Hopefully we'll keep drinking our bourbon and keep going from there. But thank you to everyone who did listen. Please subscribe. We have our socials. We got Facebook. We've got Instagram, X, Blue Sky. We have YouTube. Shrink the Nation at Shrink the Nation is usually what it is. That's where you'll find us. You can go to our website, shrinkthenation.com. You can email us, socials at shrinkthenation.com for any comments, questions. We will start taking questions. So once we start getting those, we'll answer whatever we can if there's anything interesting. So feel free to send those out. Last comments from these two yahoos? No? Anything?
Looking forward to
Rob, would you like to look in the camera and tell everyone that they're going to die again?
Yeah, you are all
Life is fun.
sheep in the field in front of the butcher. Good luck with that.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. Keith, last words.
I'm good.
That was it. Okay.
you can't go
good.
beyond that.
Can't go beyond that.
that's
All
the
right. Well,
reality.
next week, topic, cognitive dissonance. So
Okay.
whatever the hell that means, we'll find out. I'm looking forward to it. And thank you so much. Cue up the music. Let's hear it. You guys hear it? I did.
I hear it.
Catchy.
Sounds great.
Catchy. All right.
Love it.
Until next time. I'm out. Bye.